The red tails were recognized by bomber crews as quite essential to their survival, to the point that some of the crews began to request the red tails. Ironically, they had no idea that the red tails were African American.
On missions over enemy territory, they know the Luftwaffe could appear at any moment.
People have to stay alert. Things can happen, you know.
Somebody would say, bogeys at 9 o'clock. You look out at 9 o'clock, little black specks, 8, 9, 10 miles away, little black specks, back and forth.
If they attack, you had to be ready for combat.
It was a dangerous business.
For the men of the 332nd, the war is set to become even more dangerous in the months to come. June 1944, Allied forces land on the beaches of Normandy, northern France. Their compass is set for Berlin. At the same time, the mass bombing of Germany intensifies. The African-American Red Tails are emerging as a real fighting force, one that's increasingly in harm's way now that they've proved they're ready for action.
Now, instructions were not to leave the bombers, even if the German fighters were out there flying around.
The Luftwaffe's Focke-Wulf 190 is the scourge of the bomber squadrons. Fast, agile, armed with machine guns and cannons. In experienced hands, it's a match for the Red Tails Mustang. The directive to stick close to the bombers is relaxed.
If they then made a pass, that's when our flight leader would dispatch you.
Drop your tanks. Let's go get them.
Very intense. It's awfully fast. Awfully fast.
Zigging and zagging so you weren't flying in a straight line.
Everybody is moving back and forth. It's like a circle.
Luftwaffe fighter ace Hans Eckehard Bob remembers going into battle against the P-51.
Me and my squadron were caught in a dogfight with Mustangs. We had air combat for half an hour of spiraling. I flew like a madman.
When you press the trigger, you would activate the guns. You also activate a camera that would take pictures showing what you were firing at. It would verify that you shot down an airplane.
This guy decided to dive for the ground, and he was able to get on his tail. You got to lead your target. If you're shooting where he is, he's going to be gone when the bullets get there. And he went on, crashed into the ground. I often said, well, had he turned left, who knows what would have happened.
When a mission is successful, the Red Tails return to base with a flourish.
Come in low pass, pull up and do a roll, and come on around and land. Kind of a way of letting the folks know you had a successful mission.
When you got back on the ground, you knew you survived.
We knew we could do it, and we knew we could do it as well or better than anybody else, and we wanted to show that every time we flew.
Your job is to protect and defend. Should you find yourself in trouble or your man in trouble, you attack. Other than that, we defend and we protect. Major Gleed, what footage?
When you got back, they had the movies in the ready room. They would show them. They would show what you hit, what you didn't hit. It was very accurate.
You have to learn from the veterans. The veterans knew the combat maneuvers. They knew the spacing, knew how high we had to fly, how far apart we had to fly. Every time you go into the air, there's something new you can learn.
Under the watchful eye of Davis, the pilots of the 332nd form a tight-knit unit at their base in Ramatelli, Italy, a converted farmer's field near the Adriatic Sea.
They are an entirely self-contained black unit where they run the base. There are no whites at Ramatelli.
Throughout the war, the Tuskegee Airmen were an integral group, our own pilots, our own mechanics, our own radio operators, our own support personnel.
The reason for this is simple. At the time, U.S. Army Air Force rules say no black man can give a white man an order, a potential problem when a pilot automatically outranks his mechanic.
They're a raunchy bunch of characters, oh God, in their own individualistic way. You had to be. We talked about our girlfriends, our lives, airplanes.
We scrounged to build a bit of flooring in our tents to stay up out of the mud. It was quite primitive living, dealing with Mother Nature.
A stickler for discipline in the air, Commanding Officer Ben Davis cuts his men some slack in their downtime.
When you walked in, oh, yes, sir. Except across the poker table. Across the poker table, he would address you in your first name.
Done. It's been fun. Thanks, boys.
But about 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, all of a sudden he would sit up and say, well, Lieutenant, bingo, we're back. We're military again. Time to cut the poker game? Yes, sir.
What's your purpose?
If you ever appeared before Colonel Davis, you had better be serious and ready for combat.
Having proven themselves in battle, the Tuskegee Airmen are handed another dangerous task. They're chosen to weaken German defenses in advance of an invasion of southern France, planned for August 1944.
So I know you boys have all the details. Just take a look at it here. Nothing too complicated. We know we gotta take out those radar stations.
We were told that there were radar stations on the coast of southern France. Tall towers with a lot of buildings.
Most of the work they've been doing has been very, very tight bomber escort work. This is an opportunity to engage the enemy, on their own terms, rather than being, hampered by having to kind of stick to bombers.
The mission involves one of the most hazardous tactics used by fighter pilots, ground strafing. The Red Tails must fly at extreme low altitude while firing directly at targets on the ground.
Some of our toughest missions were those low altitude strafing missions, because the anti-aircraft would focus on you as you're coming in, and boom, 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 boom.
August 12, 1944, Toulon on the south coast of France. The Red Tails are sent to strafe heavily defended German radar. 16 planes in formation in groups of 4. The attack is on. Alexander Jefferson has clear memories of that day.
I'm number 16. I'm tailing Charlie, the last guy to go across the target. It was a beautiful day, clear, blue, and the first flight broke in from 15,000 feet, and the radios, of course, became aware. The whole side of the cliff opened up with anti-aircraft fire, shells coming back at you. We start firing. We're doing about 400 miles an hour because we had shoved everything to the wall. Go right across the top of the target, and boom. You look up and there's a hole in the top of the canopy. The damn shell had come up out of the floor. But the fire came up, the gloves were burning. I had to bail out. During your 9 months of training You never had 1 minute on how to get out of an airplane.
The Red Tails are on a strafing mission over the southern coast of France, knocking out German radar installations. They're paving the way for an Allied invasion. As pilot Alexander Jefferson flies over the target, his plane is hit by an enemy shell.
This damn thing came through so fast. And then the fire comes out of the floor, right in front of you. I gotta get out, it's hot. That was before ejection seats. I reach up and pull on the little red knob, and the whole canopy goes off. Pull back on the stick to get some altitude. We hit that buckle, boom, I came out. Catapulted out by centrifugal force. As I came out, I remember the tail going by with all that fire.
He makes it out with seconds to spare, but Jefferson's ordeal has just begun.
I remember looking down at the trees, said, oh, the parachute popped, I'm in the trees. And I'm trying to get out, and I hear this guy, ach so, ja, Leutnant. I said, oh, Leutnant. What's that bullet? We got your name on it? I'm not worried about that one. I'm worried about that other one, to whom it may concern.
The Germans take Jefferson as a prisoner of war. The remaining Red Tails return to base, believing he's been killed in action.
They didn't see me get out, so when they got back to the squadron, they reported me as killed. My parents got a KIA telegram.
When people have been killed or captured, the realization hits you that, hey, this isn't kid stuff, you know.
The Allies are making headway against a weakened Luftwaffe at a cost. Between June and August 44, 18 Red Tails are killed or lost in action. Replacement pilots are in short supply, so tours of duty are extended.
Our replacements are very slow. I ended up with 82 tactical and 54 strategic missions before a replacement became available.
Vastly outnumbered by Allied fighters and crippled by the lack of fuel, the once mighty Luftwaffe is quickly losing its best pilots and its domination of the skies.
As the air war over Europe develops and Americans are sending 1,000 bomber raids from the 8th Air Force and 500, 600 bomber raids, the 15th, and the British are bombing Germany at night, the Luftwaffe finds itself increasingly overwhelmed.
Captured when the Germans shot down his Mustang, Alexander Jefferson remembers his first days as a prisoner of war.
We were being transferred to a prisoner of war camp. On the way there, we got to Frankfurt on the Main, where we were interrogated. I'm simply a pilot, following orders. I'm shooting up radar stations. I didn't know anything. They had my high school grades.
It's been a long night, yeah.
My college grades. They even knew how much taxes my dad paid on his house. They knew more about me than I knew about myself. And he pulled out a big book, and on the front of the book it said, 332nd Fighter Group, Negroes, Red Tails. You look at the books, god damn. They had all the pictures of every group that graduated at Tuskegee Airman Airfield. I'm January 44. So I'm 44A. He said, Lieutenant, isn't that you? Pointing to me and my graduation picture.
Nothing familiar to you.
They call us Luftgangsters. air gangsters. I was in a room with 9 other guys at Stalag Luft 3, 80 miles east of Berlin on the Polish border. Altogether, approximately 10,000 officers shot down over German-occupied territory.
What we're looking at.
And the Germans knew everything about every man in the camp. It was an educated group of men. I was treated as another American, no animosity, no racism at all.
We did a run back in January. You guys?
But life inside the camp, we survived.
You better close it. I knew you were going to be here. Man, it's
Security at the camp is brutally strict. The POWs are under constant watch.
To keep from going stark raving nuts, you occupied your time. I drew pictures. To sit down and start drawing pictures, I said, hey, wait a minute. I almost got killed. That's when you start seeing how close you came. Gotta tell you.
Although cut off from the outside world, the POWs devise ways to outsmart their captors.
We had a small radio. And we listened to the BBC. So we kept up with the progress. We knew exactly what was going on. But there were German guards walking around inside the camp all the time. No matter what happens, you stay together. I knew how to survive.
Those superstars in the black press, many fighting Americans still have no idea that the Red Tails are an all-black unit.
If you were just paying attention to what you would read in the white press, you could easily miss this.
19-year-old bomber radio operator Bert Vardaman crash lands near the Red Tails Air Base in late March 1945. Bert remembers his surprise when he and his friends caught sight of the men of the 332nd.
We looked up and the whole crowd of African-American men were running down to where we were to see if we were okay. The planes were the Red Tails. Then immediately it dawned on me, well, this must be the base where these fighter pilots that protect us take off and land. We didn't know where they came from. We didn't know anything about Tuskegee. We stayed with them 4 days and 4 nights until our base could send a plane from there to pick us up and take us back to our home base.
And we had good conversation, played cards, we drank liquor and so on. We were glad to have them.
So it's not until they landed at Ramitelli and they saw all these black people running the base that they realized that there are African Americans doing this in the United States Armed Forces. It was more secret than the atom bomb.
By the end of 1944, in a last-ditch effort to save Hitler's regime and alter what appears inevitable, the Luftwaffe has developed a radically new fighter plane. It's a game changer, faster and more powerful than anything else in the sky.
I was the first one to see the jets at 9 o'clock. And I said, let's go and get them.
January 1945, Germany is under relentless Allied attack. Hitler's armies are reduced to defending their own borders and his Nazi stronghold in Berlin.
Pressure from overwhelming numbers of Allied bombers coming over day and night, destroying its factories on the ground and cutting off its oil supplies, forces the Germans to commit every last pilot they have to fend off these thousands of bombers over their territory.
We could outproduce them in training pilots and building airplanes. Every time we shoot down one, it means another one won't come back tomorrow.
What the Luftwaffe lacks in numbers, it hopes to make up for with technology. Since the early days of the war, German scientists have been experimenting with jet propulsion. Now, in a last-ditch effort to turn the tide, the Luftwaffe unleashes their advanced fighter plane, the Messerschmitt Me-262.
The Me-262 was the first major jet to come into combat. And they were, you know, clearly the next generation.
The speed of the 262 is unmatched, capable of almost 560 miles per hour. It's more than 100 miles per hour faster than the P-51 Mustang.
They obviously had good chances with the bombers when they approached them with that speed. By the time they noticed them, they were already shot down.
For the Red Tails, their first sighting comes on a mission over Berlin. On the 24th of March, 1945, Lieutenant Roscoe Brown leads the 100th Squadron.
On the Berlin mission, we had to be alert. I saw these trails, bogey's 9 o'clock, and I said, "Double tanks, follow me."
Dropping the extra fuel tanks makes the Mustang lighter, faster, more maneuverable.
I flew under the bombers in a modified split-S away from the jet. I had made such a tremendous maneuver, I had lost my wingman. I'm over Berlin at 25,000 feet by myself. So I'm over Berlin, pulling on it, pull the trigger, and just keep that circle on it as you fly. And the bullets went right in the middle. He blew up. The best stories are the stories that you do spontaneously. We had that record of being the first to shoot down jet planes over Berlin. I came right down tent row, right between the tents, pulled it up, did a couple rolls, came back the other way, pulled up, did a couple rolls. So everybody was very thrilled with that, as was I. And we knew we had done something great.
6 weeks after Roscoe Brown shoots down the Me-262, Germany runs up the white flag. The most destructive war in history is finally over. The Red Tails have overcome heavy odds to become one of the greatest units of World War II. Their remarkable tally, 112 enemy aircraft shot down, 150 planes destroyed on the ground, over 100 rail wagons demolished in ground attacks. Along the way, 66 make the ultimate sacrifice.
Some of the men who were damn good pilots got killed. That's the game. You win some, you lose some, but you make progress.
The Red Tails earned 3 distinguished unit citations, officially recognizing it as one of the elite fighter groups in the U.S. Army Air Force. It's an extraordinary achievement for a unit of men who were told African Americans can't fly, let alone become fighter pilots. Like thousands of his comrades, prisoner of war Alexander Jefferson is liberated by U.S. soldiers.
When we were liberated by General Patton's Third Army, they moved in a field kitchen with mashed potatoes, hot biscuits, gravy, huge steaks. We knew we were going to get sick. Many of us had lost weight. We ate like dogs. We all got sick from dogs. But it was heaven. What a day, what a day.
The thrill of going home is short-lived for Jefferson and other African-American troops.
Coming back to the United States, Statue of Liberty, flags waving, walking down the gangplank, whites to the right and to the left. Damn it, coming back home. What a hell of a feeling.
And with the white troops, there was a band, about 30, 40 reporters. With the black troops, there were 2 reporters and a saxophone player.
The Tuskegee experiment is an unprecedented success, and the change it represents can't be held back for long. In 1948, in part because of the achievements of the Red Tails, all branches of the military end the policy of segregation.
The leaders of the Air Force finally came to understand that it was totally impractical and inefficient to establish 2 separate Air Forces, one white and one black.
In 1948, when this begins happening, there's only one other institution in the United States that's even beginning to desegregate, and that's Major League Baseball.
When they said that blacks couldn't play baseball, Jackie Robinson came in, the black players came in, and played better than everybody else. Same thing with the Air Force. And that's why the story of the Tuskegee Airman resonates, because we overcame the racism, those obstacles, and now we recognize as being the best of the best.
By winning the war on 2 fronts, against prejudice at home and fascism in Europe, the Tuskegee Airmen, the iconic Red Tails, won their place in the history books.
Given the opportunity, blacks could perform as well as anybody else.
All the rest of the Tuskegee Airmen, basically, with the same kind of grit. You had to have that kind of grit in order to survive.